says, O God, educate these children. These children are the plants of thine orchard, the flowers of thy meadow, the roses of thy garden. Let thy rain fall upon them. Let the sun of reality shine upon them with thy love. Let thy breeze refresh them, in order that they may be trained, may grow, develop, and appear in the utmost beauty. Thou art the giver, thou art the compassionate. At first, I think I used that prayer for the wrong reason. I always thought that was a good way to raise kids. You know, it says, let thy rain fall upon them. And you know, in South Dakota, if you have any kind of weather, you always add TOO in front of it. Like if it's windy, it's too windy. Rain, too much rain. Hot, you know. And so I was like, that's a great way to raise kids. Just, you know, if it get a downpour, just send them outside. Or let the sun of reality shine upon them. And then I always thought, well, that's good. Just put a little bit of lard on them and just send them out. Let them bake a little bit. Or let thy breeze refresh them. And I always thought, well, that's good. We get a lot of wind here. Just put some rocks in their pockets so they don't hang glide over Minnesota. But then, you know, I with my, like, I've got my daughter, and I've got other daughters, and I've got one of my granddaughters here, and grandkids. And I think a lot of you as parents and grandparents, if you ever look at the pictures, you know, I go to people's homes on their fridge door or maybe in their office, they have pictures of that their kids or grandkids did. And you notice how often do you ever see that little flower that they'll draw? And it could be a little strip of green underneath, maybe a little sun on overhead, and maybe a little bird there. And I remember noticing this over and over again. Even I was an elementary ed teacher at Fort Yates for a number of years, and it could be 30, 40 below zero. Then you don't let the kids out. They might stick to the monkey bars or something. But anyway, we just put paper out for them, and it's just amazing how many times I'd see this drawing come out, even in a whiteout blizzard. And I'd always say, little kids, I said, oh, that's so beautiful. The colors are so nice. And then I'd ask them, I'd say, where is that place that you're depicting, that, you know, the scene with the flowers and everything? And they never give me a verbal response. They always give me a non-verbal response. They just look at me. It's kind of like this. And then later on, it's kind of embarrassing because then I realized that look is saying, it says, this dummy really doesn't know, does he? But then I realized, like that prayer I mentioned, it's what they're really depicting is not a place out there that we can identify, but it's a place inside of them. And I always think that as educators and artists, as parents, as grandparents, this is our responsibility, is to provide an infrastructure, support for these young people, so that that they can receive that light, that breeze, that sun of reality, so they can receive that water of life, which is really this. I think directly we can do this through the arts, and for me, it's been a real privilege over these years to be able to do this, and I still do this. It's my little ad right here. I still do a lot of touring, and. Yesterday, a little after midnight, I got back from the Arctic in Sweden. I was up there in some distance above the Arctic Circle. They've got a little population there called Sami. They're indigenous people there. I was over there visiting schools. And then tomorrow, I've got a 6:30 flight out of Aberdeen in the morning to go up to Metlakatla, Saxman Village, Ketchikan, Juneau, Hoona, different communities in southeastern Alaska. So it's really a privilege. I get to be with the kids. But I just wanted to, you know, I know that it's good to, they always say, blessed are the brief. You know, blessed are the brief, for they shall be invited back someday. So I just wanted to share something I got from my mom when she was younger. There was an elder lady that thought it was really important to teach the kids, I guess it's the world's first standardized universal language, which is the, you know, sign language. Because everywhere you go, there's, you know, different languages. I give that example. If you go to a simple word like coffee, you go down to Macy, Nebraska, Omaha, they say mankesabe. I was over in Crow Reservation a couple weeks ago. They say over there, they say bili ishpida is coffee. You go around some of the communities like White Shield, in Arikara, they say it's katit. In Mandan, they say warahu. in Ojibwe, they say, Makade Mashkiki Wabu, don't ask for decaf over there. And then in Lakota, we say Starbucks, right? That's right, yeah, that's right. Okay. Anyway, so years ago, what they do is, in order to communicate, facilitate travel, they created one language that everybody could learn. It's just all gestures. And so, like I said, when my mom was a little girl, one of the elders thought it was important for them to learn that. So she would teach them Bible verses. So I'll do this. Maybe I'll get out here so you can see it. It's one of them. It's called Psalm 23. And just have a little short commentary when I get done. But anyway, but it's a silent language, but I'll cheat. I'll say the English word along with each sign. Okay, here it is. It says, the great Father above is the shepherd chief. I am his, and with him I have not want. He throws out to me a rope, and the name of the rope is love. He draws me, and he draws me, and he draws me to a place where the grass is green, and the water is good. I eat and lay down satisfied. Sometimes it may be soon, maybe longer, maybe a long, long time. The shepherd chief will lead me to a place between mountains. It is dark there. I will be afraid not. I will draw back not, for it is there at this place between mountains that I will meet him. Sometimes the shepherd chief makes this love rope into a whip. Afterwards, he gives me a staff to lean upon. He puts his hands upon my head. All the tired is gone. He spreads before me a table of many good things to eat. My cup he fills until it runs over. What I tell you is true. I lie not. For these roads lead to a great lodge where dwells the shepherd chief. And after I die, I will be with him forever and ever. So that's the Psalm 23. Like I say, I cheated. I said the English. But I just had a little, thank you. A little short comment on that. I've been to about 90 countries now, touring, and over the last 35 years or so. And when I would see my mom do that, the Psalm 23, at the end, when she says, these roads lead to a great lodge. I don't know why, I guess she learned it that way, but the roads, that when she would make that sign, they're going up, the roads are ascending. And then in my mind's eye, whenever I'd see her do that, I would just picture a big mountain, and we're traveling up that mountain. But then as I went around the world, I realized that really all peoples of the world have the same goal of achieving that summit, of achieving nobility, ascendancy, honor, all these things. And so then I began to realize that the people, let's go back in time, Psalm 23 is 3,500 years old. People back then were not aware of each other's existence. So people here didn't know that there's people in Europe who didn't know there's people in Asia or maybe Australia, Africa, South America, Pacific, and so forth. And so, but we've all been aspiring, climbing this one mountain. And it's now, after 35 centuries have elapsed, we've all reached a stage in our collective ascent of this one mountain where we can all see each other now in the world. We can all see each other. And the summit is in sight. The summit is in sight. But we know we'll never reach that summit. We'll never reach that summit unless we assist each other, unless we empower each other, unless we inspire each other, unless we reach out and assist with the gifts that we have from our different heritage, whatever it is, the strengths that we have, those God-given strengths. And then, truly then, we can reach that summit. And from there, we can launch our flight collectively. So I'm really excited, when I see kids all over that we're living at this time. We're living at this time when we can assist them to achieve their destiny, assist them to achieve that goal. So again, thank you so much. By the way, this star quilt right here, I understand that to be the morning star. The morning star, you see that? This is the gift that you see presented at any kind of a gathering, and that morning star always appears at the darkest hour before the dawn, coldest, darkest hour before the dawn. But when you see that star, you should pray, because then you know that all that darkness, whatever is holding us back, whatever is depressing us, will be transmuted into a world of color and beauty and movement and a fragrance, into a springtime that autumn can never overtake. So that's what I'll think of. I'll think of this evening with this quilt. Thank you so much. Thank you, one and all. Appreciate it. Lila, hopefully
Kevin, a few years ago you performed at Spearfish's Matthews Opera House, and I've written a lot of history about that 107-year-old theater, and I've got to say I don't think there was ever a night more magical when you filled that theater with your music and motion. I also should have mentioned that one of the presenters was Barry LeBeau, who is representing the Northern Plains Arts Market. The State of the Arts Address is traditionally the center of the Governor's Awards in the Arts. We certainly look forward to Governor Daugaard's message this evening. I've got to say, the last time I was in this room with the governor was not a pretty picture. I learned that he's got some comedic skills. I was sitting back about where the buffet is. It was the 2009 tourism conference, and he told a joke, which I won't repeat, but the parts were the Sioux Falls Argus leader, Governor Rounds, and a tattoo. And at the moment, you can ask him later to explain, at the moment I thought that was the funniest thing I had ever heard. Unfortunately, I had a mouthful of boiling hot coffee and inhaled some of it. Some of my table mates thought I was having a true medical emergency, but I survived. But you know, you've all heard the saying, the comedian says, I killed that audience. He almost did so literally that night. So, staying away from the coffee while he speaks, it is my honor to present the Governor of South Dakota, Governor Dennis Daugaard.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have to confess, I don't remember that joke. But it was a good one. It was a good one. It is great to be here with you tonight to celebrate the artists among us and those who've entertained us and made our lives so full. I am not an artist. In fact, in my Del Rapids arts class, I was somewhat of a decoy, I'll call it that, not an artist. In my high school years, I was in the chorus and in the band, and some of you know my parents did enjoy coming to those concerts because, as some of you know, my parents were both deaf. So they did not mind coming to my concerts for that reason. But it was great to hear the Jazz Collective tonight. Wow, what a great ensemble. Weren't they terrific? Just super. And Jami Lynn, as soon as I'd forgotten her name, but as soon as Lynn and I heard her sing, we heard her for the first time this fall at Custer State Park, and wasn't she fantastic? Isn't she fantastic? Wow, just outstanding. We come together tonight to honor citizens of great distinction for their works in the art and for their outstanding achievements and service to the people of South Dakota. We celebrate the accomplishments of these family members, these contributors to our rich legacy of the arts. They represent our heritage and our future. They join the procession of great artists, educators, arts organizations, and individuals who are represented by the recipients of the Governor's Award through the years. We recognize their enduring contributions, their integrity, their generosity of spirit, and their enrichment of our lives. The first Governor's Awards in the arts the first award, actually, was presented to Oscar Howe 40 years ago, just a few years after the creation of our state arts agency, the South Dakota Arts Council. The enabling legislation for the creation of the council happened in the legislative session of 1966, and it's poetic legislation, and I thought you might be interested in hearing the words of that law. It begins with this declaration: the South Dakota legislature, being aware of the impact of culture on a stable economy, desires to stimulate, encourage, and give recognition and assistance to the arts, which in order to grow and flourish depend upon freedom, imagination, and individual initiative. The statute continues, while the development of the arts has long been considered a matter of local concern, there is a need to unify and coordinate these forces on a statewide basis. The arts, the creative spirit which motivates them and which they personify, are an essential part of the state's resources. It goes on, the best interests of the state and its people requires that artistic expression in all of its forms be disseminated for everyone to see, appreciate, and enjoy in order for our cultural and economic progress to be sustained and given impetus. There is created a South Dakota Arts Council comprised of 11 members appointed by the governor, South Dakota Codified Laws 122. Soon after that legislation, the State Arts Agency, those 11 members and a staff of 1, then 2, now 3, were joined in their efforts by a statewide organization in the private sector. Just mentioned earlier, the South Dakotans for the Arts. Its membership of arts enthusiasts, artists, educators, community leaders, and supportive businesses and individuals have worked as partners, as Kristen mentioned, as partners in South Dakota's cultural development and growth. Tonight we also celebrate this long-standing public-private partnership, thus co-MCs, how appropriate, and our work together to fulfill the goals laid out in that enabling legislation. The South Dakota Arts Council is now an agency affiliated with the Department of Tourism. The Secretary of Tourism, Jim Hagan, is here with us tonight. And it's fitting for a state where monumental works of art are the cornerstones of our tourism industry, and where our roads lead to the discovery of cultural treasures, great and small. The arts work for South Dakota, attracting visitors from all over the world and making us a better home for those who choose to come here to work and raise their families. In 2012, South Dakota participated in the National Arts and Economic Prosperity Study conducted by Americans for the Arts. That study examined reported data to determine the economic impact of South Dakota's nonprofit arts and cultural organizations. It was a conservative review. According to that study, the total impact of the nonprofit cultural organizations in our state is over $96 million. Much of that is attributable to cultural tourism. South Dakota's cultural identity is emerging in beautiful diversity through all art forms, growing into a creative industry with significant social and economic impact throughout our state and for the betterment of our people. In 2012, the South Dakota Arts Council co-sponsored activities that reached an audience of more than 2 million people and involved more than 18,000 artists. The state of South Dakota and the National Endowment for the Arts supported the 512 arts grants we awarded, and I checked that number, that's accurate. 512 arts grants were awarded, reaching every legislative district in South Dakota for the arts. Through these grants and programs, the South Dakota Arts Council impacts every county in South Dakota, providing lifelong educational opportunities and reviving and building better rural and urban communities by making the benefit of the arts accessible and equitable. Our state arts agency and the remarkable artists in its rosters of artists in schools and communities and touring arts have added measurably to so many facets of our work together. We can count on your genius, your creativity, and your dedication to continue to enrich our world. This year's presentation of awards is uniquely pertinent to our time. Every one of the winners, every one of the people in the arts has demonstrated more than artistic prowess, more than personal edification and gain. They've extended their work and gifts for our benefit, each in their own way. They believe in the power of the arts, and they make us believe in one another. Their spirit moves us. We celebrate this spirit that moves South Dakota and the energy we gain from their gifts. The state of the arts is strong in South Dakota and growing, thanks to all of you. As one last comment before our MCs return to present the awards tonight, I want to thank all of you for your support to the Tourism Promotion Tax Bill passed the legislature with overwhelming support just weeks ago and signed into law just last week. Yeah, give yourself a round of applause. Those dollars will help continue the arts in South Dakota. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Governor Daugaard. Oops. He's tall. Who was in charge of that? Okay, we'd like to begin the presentation of the Governor's Awards in the Arts. And we will begin with outstanding support of the arts by an individual. And we have two presenters, as we did earlier. The first is,
The first is Ann McKay Thompson. And as many of you know, Ann is a longtime arts supporter and former chair of the South Dakota Humanities Council.
And the other is Secretary Jim Hagan from the Department of Tourism.
The Governor's Award for Outstanding Support of the Arts by an Individual is recognition of the impact one citizen can have on the lives of others through the work of the arts. We honor those who guide us in new directions, who challenge our normal frames of reference in our communities, in our schools, in our approach to life. In a time when creativity is a necessity, when energy and excitement is building as we move forward through this century, we realize we owe gratitude to someone who has spent a lifetime sparking that enthusiasm for life, the thrill of human endeavor and achievement.
Now, about that picture you saw up here, that was one of many of Marcia With's film stars that she's dealt with over years and years of service in the arts and in her profession. She began really with the arts in childhood. She took dance lessons and played the violin, and I've never heard her play that. And she's always said herself she's never been an artist, but she definitely has been a supporter of the arts. And probably her career influenced more people than you can imagine, because whatever talent she did have, she shared with other people so that they could flourish. But I think we're all very interested in Marcia, in what she has also done as kind of a capstone of her career. And let me tell you just 3 little things that just have moved her in what she's done. She has a desire to encourage and support the talents of others all the time. She brings awareness to others of the importance of the arts. She also advances and preserves the art of the moving image. If you go to her house, you will see pictures of presidents, of famous movie stars. I didn't see any where they kissed you, but I would think you'd want to kiss Cary Grant or a few of the others you saw. It's kind of fun. But the other thing that we want to tell you tonight is she truly is a professional in her own right in the arts, even though she says she isn't. She's a writer. And let me just tell you a couple of the things that are just the kind of attention that she gets from her talent. She was given notification that one of her books was now I have to get this right, so I have to look, a best book in the United Kingdom. She received the information that she had the Counterintelligence Book of the Year for the United States. One of her books received one of the top 3 awards for the National Press Women Association. And I think that those are the kind of things that really say the kind of career that she has had in writing, but she's also gone on into film, of where she has done film events in London, where all these young people were trying to be a new Fred Astaire, on a tribute to Fred Astaire, that raised money for the cultural complex on a little island called Montserrat in the West Indies. You go down the Panama Canal and turn left, that's about where it is, so that they could preserve an indigenous people there in their culture, to being in Hill City and cooking the breakfast for the sculpture event that they have there. She's that good of cook as well. Her talents are many, and she has touched a lot of lives in the film industry, in the writing industry, and all over the place in the arts.
She also served on an editorial post at the Rapid City Journal and on the Governor's Cabinet, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and the American Film Institute. Her service to the arts has indeed been incredible and outstanding. She has always raised funds for the arts with ingenuity and grace. Since retiring from her career travels, she has returned to her home in Hill City, where her supportive efforts on behalf of the Hill City Arts Council have been extraordinary.
Marcia Mitchell was one of the early members of the South Dakota Arts Council. She'd been to a national meeting. She saw how some of the artists around America were being honored, and she had an idea. She came back and she proposed it to the Arts Council and said, how about if we have the Governor's Arts Awards? 40 years ago, the idea, and they said, good idea, go talk to the governor. She did, he said yes, and we are pleased tonight to honor the woman whose reason that we are here tonight for the outstanding support by an individual. Congratulations, Marcia Mitchell.
Reverend Two Hawk spoke about being thankful, and I must tell you that I am so filled with gratitude tonight. I thank the South Dakotans for the arts, the State Arts Council, all of those who have worked so hard in support of the arts over the years. But you know, this wonderful honor really belongs to all of those who have responded with such generosity to requests for support for our South Dakota artists and their wonderful work that has enriched and enlightened the lives of all of us. And I am enormously grateful. You know, I came upon a misstatement that's related to this award and to the generosity that I've just talked about. I want you to know that it is absolutely untrue that I talked Senator Stan Adelstein into giving a vintage Rolls Royce to the Hill City Arts Council, and a caboose to the new State Railroad Museum. It went like this. He said, "Say, are you still involved with the Arts Council?" And, "Say, are you still on the board of the new State Railroad Museum?" Out of the blue, and suddenly, I then possessed a beautiful Rolls Royce and an historic, wonderful caboose. He volunteered. I never asked him for those. And I mean, who would ask a man to give up his Rolls Royce and his own private caboose? I could not do that. However, Stan, I want you to know that I am still involved. And when you get back to town, if you check in your garage and you find that you have an extra Rolls Royce taking up room, actually it doesn't have to be a Rolls, a Mercedes would do, a Bentley, or maybe a classic Corvette. But I have to say that Stan is among those who have been so generous and who has never said no to me. I think that the owners of our market in Hill City, they've been there for many years. I think the reason they just retired is because they are very, very tired of having me come in and say, "Can you please supply the wine for our fundraising event?" I think they got tired of that. But you know, the arts have informed and defined my life since I was a child bedridden for 2 years. I was so fortunate to have a family that surrounded me with good music, with fine literature, with books about art when I was a child. I probably was the only 12-year-old who'd read all of Shakespeare and who knew the difference between Monet and Monet. I had a wonderful, wonderful background, and you know, years later when I would be visiting with corporate leaders about supporting the arts, I could look back at that experience and I could say to them, "Look, I know that medicine heals the body, but it is the arts that heal the spirit." And I was so glad to hear Governor Daugaard talk about the power of that spirit. And it is true. I know it happened to me. And I know that others have responded the same way. All those years ago, when in the early days, I was not a founder of the Arts Council, but I was a fairly early member. And I look back to that time when I spoke with Governor Knipe, who was wonderfully receptive about establishing an arts award, and worked with Charlotte Carver and my fellow members on the Arts Council to establish this marvelous award. I've had some wonderful honors in my life. I've been very blessed, but nothing has matched this evening. And when we worked to put together a governor's award in the arts, I never imagined that I would be here in this place, this night, for this purpose. I am humbled and I am deeply grateful.
Congratulations, Marcia. I was looking at Marcia thinking, she somewhat reminds me of somebody. And actually, full disclosure, my co-host is related to Marcia Mitchell, and that was a little bit awkward. I have to stress that Kristen in no way was a part of the selection. You know, you've read Marcia's resume, and it speaks for itself. But that happens in South Dakota. I mean, we're all, if not siblings, first or second cousins. We live in a state where 6 degrees of separation is actually 2 degrees of separation. And that's what's great about South Dakota. If we all got up here every other year or so and did these awards, we'd all see relatives passing on the stage.
You know, that's so weird. I thought I recognized her. Congratulations, Mom. She's doing this because I'm in trouble about that picture. I'm going to hear about that later. Okay, our next award is Outstanding Support of the Arts by an Organization or Business, and we'll have 2 presenters for that as well.